Welcome, welcome on and all to Lembit Opik Live here on Unprecedented TV, which you will find at Unprecedented TV on YouTube. Please do like and subscribe. Helps us a lot and costs you not a penny. Just 30 seconds of your time. Our mission here is to tell it like it is in terms of the facts and give you our opinions too so that you can form your own. That's right. We're ruthless with news, gracious with views. I want to ask you a question. What's going on with Keir Starmer and Pride? I watched the launch, if you're watching this live, the launch of the Labour Party local election campaign. And it's called Pride in Britain, Pride in Wolverhampton, Pride in all these different places. Well, I understand the word has a literal meaning, but so does gay. So does murder. So does killing. So does euthanasia. All kinds of words which are highly charged tend not to be used this overtly to launch an election campaign. I don't understand why Keir Starmer has chosen that word. Is it a subliminal message to say that this is about LGBTQI rights? Is that what the local election is about? Is he trying to remind us about this rather mysterious court case about three young men who have been accused of torching Keir Starmer's current and former property? Whatever it is, from a professional point of view, I don't understand why he's using that word. There's another irony. Let's assume there is no hidden message whatever. Not many people are very proud of the Labour Party, are they? And to say something which at best could be called borrowed interest in marketing terms, in other words, a word which has no relevance really to local government services, is once again very peculiar. When I was in the Liberal Democrats, we used to try to focus our campaigns on local issues that really mattered to local people. I'm sure dog dirt and street lighting might not set the world alight, but it makes a difference locally. So I pose the question, why is Labour doing this? Have they really run out of local government ideas? Or am I missing something? Well, I'm not the only person who may be asking this question. Dr. Marcus Papadopoulos joins us now. Marcus, you're a doctor. You're a PhD. Help me understand. Why is Keir Starmer using a word like pride as the central launching point of his campaign? Or am I seeing things which aren't there?
All that we see happening in Britain is by design. And it is also a matter of symbolism. So, with Keir Starmer using this word, pride, is it an allusion to something else? Perhaps it is. But what is very clear is that whoever is in Downing Street is humiliating Britain, is humiliating the British people, is undermining the very existence of the British people. And when I say the British people, I mean the British people. The British people are comprised of the English, Scottish, Welsh, and Northern Irish nations. You know, Lembit, there are key threads which hold a fabric together. And if those key threads are undone, the fabric falls apart. In Britain, the key threads were the ethnic demographic, meaning the British people, and the national identity of the British people, which revolves around Christianity. Since the 1950s, and in particular since 1997, the two key threads in Britain have been decimated. The ethnic demographic has been decimated by the imposition of immigration, and the national identity of the British people has been decimated by the imposition of multiculturalism. For years and years, Lembit, I have said that the dark, malignant forces which rule Britain hate the history of the British people. They hate the culture of the British people. Indeed, they hate the British people so much that they wish to see them replaced. So all that we see happening in Britain is part and parcel of the aim to destroy the very existence, not only of the national identity of the British people, but the very existence of the British people.
That's pretty heavy duty language just from one launch. I have to say, from a marketing point of view, I'm going to make 2 points here. Pride in Britain is ironic because, as you say, many people are pretty disgusted by the bad performance of the Labour Party. You don't meet many people say, oh, yeah, Keir Starmer's doing great. I'm proud of his performance. And it almost mocks Starmer himself. Then at the darker level, the charged nature of the wording, a tiny proportion of the British population thinks that gender politics is the most important thing. And you can't get away from the idea this word pride is loaded with all kinds of significance and meaning. And so I suppose at the superficial level, I would simply say he's being appallingly advised if he thinks that that word helps in either regard. He should be saying things like delivering change for Britain, which would be consistent. He has delivered change, which is for the worse, I think. I agree with you on that, or your inference. But something which is consistent with Labour's promise. But instead we get this weird message. And there's another thing that we saw, which just reminds us of a court case we're still waiting for. 3 young Ukrainian-born men, I think it might be 4 now, I can't remember how many, still to be tried for allegedly torching Keir Starmer's property. Can't he see people are going to try and make a connection there?
As I said, Lembit, all is by design. There is no such thing as coincidence at high-level politics.
Mm-hmm.
The British people are not only being replaced, the British national identity is not only being replaced, but the British people are also being subjected to ritual humiliation. When I was at secondary school, Lembit, and then when I went into the sixth form, and we're talking about now in the early and mid 1990s, so 30 or so years ago, I used to tell my friends that the British people are failing to defend their culture. They're failing to defend community spirit. They are instead pursuing soulless interests. And most of my friends couldn't comprehend what I was saying. Others accused me of being unpatriotic. Now, in the last few years in particular, ever since the pandemic, I have had people from my school and from my sixth form contact me to say that they remember what I used to warn about, and they say that I was right. So today, we have to understand that the British people are facing the greatest ever threat to their very existence. And it's not just from the Labour Party, it is from the other major political parties, from the Conservative Party to the Liberal Democrat Party to the SNP, and indeed to the Green Party. They are all united in wishing to see the end of the British people. They might not say it explicitly, though a lot of them are, but actions speak louder than words. All of these policies have nothing to do with the welfare of Britain and the welfare of the British people.
One of the strange things, you mentioned the Green Party, one of the strange things in my view was the victory of the Green Party in a local in a by-election up in the north of England. There is Dave Poulton, who's changed his name to Zach Polanski, I think, to connect more closely with his Jewish roots. And next to him, the woman Hannah Spencer, who won the by-election. I don't understand how the Green Party can be taken seriously when this is a shot from, I think, the recent demonstration in Trafalgar Square. How do you square the remarkable by-election success of the Green Party with this strange mixture of clowns and comedians and sexual politics with what you've just said?
the role of the Green Party is to ensure that people never get to the roots of what is causing the demise of the British people. That is their primary mission in life. And that applies to Green parties in other Western countries as well. The Green Party is not what it says it is. Yes, they will implement, they will support all sorts of peculiar and, quite frankly, diabolical things. But ultimately, their existence is to mislead the British people, to prevent the British people from getting to the root of what is causing all of the problems in this country. When the likes of Starmer or whoever else says that there is pride in Britain, well, let's just take that word at face value, shall we? What is there to be proud about in Britain today? Because, quite frankly, Britain is dead. It is not just a cesspit, it is the devil's playground. The House of Commons voted to legalize abortion at any stage up until birth. They have voted to legalize euthanasia, even for people who have mental health problems. For example, those who suffer from depression. Hundreds of thousands of English girls have been raped by Pakistani rape gangs. And Rupert Lowe's rape gang inquiry revealed that the police are involved in that. And yet there is no action taken against that. Nothing whatsoever. The police have not contacted Rupert Lowe about the findings of his inquiry. Then we see across Britain lawlessness, complete and utter lawlessness. That is because the key stitches, the key threads which held Britain together have been undone and undone deliberately. And that is why there is anarchy across the country. That is why there is chaos. But again, I reiterate, the people who rule Britain, the people who rule every single white country in the world, from Europe to North America to Australasia, hate the white race. They hate the religion of the white race, Christianity. That is why in every white country in the world, we see the same happening. Indeed, we see the same happening in Southeast Europe. For example, in Serbia. Serbia is experiencing what other countries in Europe and in America and Canada and Australasia are experiencing. Again, this is an anti-white agenda and an anti-Christian agenda.
Who's going to be able to put this right? Nigel Farage and Reform UK had substantial success in the local elections. And actually, although they only won a handful of seats in the general election, they did do enough to wreck the Tories' prospects. Is Reform the answer?
No, I do not believe it is. I believe that the average Reform member and the average Reform voter are good British patriots who love their country and who wish to see their country returned to the British people. However, the leadership of Reform at Westminster is not to be trusted. I believe that in a parliamentary sense, the only party to support is Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain, because Rupert Lowe was expelled from Reform, and Nigel Farage has now said it in public, because of his conviction that millions upon millions of immigrants, including the ones born here, need to be deported. Nigel Farage has said that. The only way that you can resurrect Britain is through remigration. So that is why I support Restore Britain. That is why I support Rupert Lowe. And also, Rupert Lowe has said other things which are very, very important for the British people. So, for example, abolishing inheritance tax, restoring the death penalty, ensuring that every penny of British taxpayers' money remains in Britain and is spent on Britain, is spent for the benefit of the British people. So I believe that in a parliamentary sense, in a parliamentary context, the only party to support is Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain. Can it work? Possibly. But then Rupert Lowe and his party are up against the British ruling elite, of which the monarchy and the aristocracy are at the heart of, along with banking elites and financial elites. So they wield immense global power. So I do worry that they cannot be defeated by parliamentary means.
I know we've only got about 5 or 6 minutes left. I have to say, Jackie Devoy has reposted the stream. Good morning to you, Jackie. I'm going to give you a call after the show. I've got some very big news. Jackie is great and would probably agree with very much what you said. So I didn't know that until now, but you're a Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain advocate. What about Ben Habib? I'm impressed with Ben. I think he has very methodically built a political movement with tens of thousands of members. I thought he would be more your cup of tea.
No, he supports the war against Iran. He does not support remigration. He is not saying what Rupert Lowe is saying. Rupert Lowe says what the vast majority of the British people think and indeed have thought for many years, yet they were deterred from saying it in public because they feared being labelled, for example, as racist. Now, with Rupert Lowe, he encapsulates what it is to be English, what it is to be British, what it is to be proud of being British. That is why there is only one politician at Westminster and in the country as a whole who is on the side of the British people, who adores Britain, who adores British culture, and who wishes to see the restoration of Britain and the national identity of the British people. And yes, that can only be done by the most radical of means, for example, through remigration. Otherwise, the British people have no future. And I literally mean that. They have no future because of the demographic factor.
I believe that Ben Habib was heavily involved in the recent march, which Tommy Robinson was involved in. I thought you'd have been quite, let's picture of it, in fact. I thought you'd have been quite impressed with that. It wasn't Rupert Lowe, it was Ben Habib who worked with Tommy Robinson.
Well, again, the average person at that protest is a good British patriot, but they are associating with the wrong people. People should have nothing to do with Tommy Robinson, nothing whatsoever. After all, he opposes Muslim immigration to Britain, but he doesn't oppose Hindu and Sikh immigration to Britain. Now, if you have a look, that can only mean one thing: disaster for the British ethnic demographic.
I'm not really against any particular religion coming here. My issue is that something called, we haven't got time to go into it, but cultural relativism, just not having any core values to the country. To me, the problem is that this absence of having some core values to the country is the problem, because as long as you come in here, like my parents did, they were migrants, and embraced the culture that embraced you, I don't see a problem. I see a problem when a country is so vague and unclear. It says everyone's allowed to do whatever they want, and then that creates absolutist enclaves which come together and then destroy the host country.
I certainly agree that British culture must be restored, must be resurrected. However, the key problem is this: the British ethnic demographic is declining. And unless immigration is halted, unless remigration is implemented, then the British ethnic demographic will become a minority in Britain. And once it becomes a minority in Britain, eventually it will become extinct in Britain. That is why I support remigration. That is why every Briton should support remigration. It is as simple as that. Culture, absolutely. That is extremely important. A people with no culture are a people with no future. However, first and foremost, it is about protecting the British ethnic demographic, and it is on the decline. It is rapidly declining. And as it currently stands, it will not be long until the British people, the British ethnic demographic, form the minority in Britain. There's only one Britain. There's only one British people. Once Britain is gone, once the British people are gone, that's it, Lembit. You can't bring them back.
There's only two more questions. I'm acutely aware of the fact you've got to go to another interview. But Kemi Badenoch, I think she's raised her game a bit. She still has over 100 MPs. She's still the official opposition. Can they recover? Can they do what you want?
Absolutely not. She was put into that job for a specific reason. The Conservative Party is not a conservative party. Again, all of the mainstream parties, which now includes the Green Party, are not to be trusted. They are not friends of the British people. So again, people should steer well clear of the likes of Kemi Badenoch and the Conservative Party.
And the last question for you, I know it's just a few minutes over. There's another possibility, of course. Why not this man, Ed Davey? Doesn't he come across as a political colossus to you?
Yes. Well, I think that photograph says it all, really. At a time when hundreds of thousands of English girls have been raped, have been groomed, have been transported around the country, have been transported out of the country by paedophile rings. What is the response of the leader of the Liberal Democrat Party, Sir Ed Davey? Is to play the prat. That demonstrates his complete and utter contempt for the British people.
I think he probably isn't just reading it right, but that's something else. I know you've got to go to another interview, so I'll let you go. And thank you very much indeed. That's Dr. Marcus Papadopoulos, who has to go for another interview now.